Welcome back. You're watching People and Politics here on AM Live, and we continue with the conversation at pace. Also, rush of tweets that I can read them out briefly before we continue with the discussion. We have here Abdallah Madambo saying that how can the government deliver the big four when their 10 cabinet secretaries are being investigated over Roraka land issue? The government's buying its own land, right? A probing question there from Abdallah Madambo. Also, Kelvin Marete saying kwa hivyo ushuru inaenda kwa mifuko yako, right? That is a person actually who was on the front page of the Standard. Also, Joseph Odanga is asking, is a rich, or is saying Care is the rich employer? Even messengers on several flats. The day lifestyle audit will be a reality. Kenyans will be surprised by the extent of theft at our taxes collector. That is Joseph Odanga there. Also, we have Joe Babbage saying corruption is a cancer in Kenya. The vice is institutionalized. Architects are the big honchos in the government. Why freeze a mere 200 million shillings yet politicians stash billions? Also, Beng Charlie says, good question. I call it pre-planned graft or budget graft. And he's picked that particular picture that we had there of Munene in the Daily Nation today. Benjamin Kiboreze say, are these commissions really independent in the first place? He's tuned from Magongo, Mombasa. Also, we have Nyamogo Gogni. There is no independent commission in Kenya. The independence is just by name, but they are subjects of executive. We need to separate independent bodies from the 3 M's of governance if they have to perform independently. Also, we have Dr. Jane Omwenga there. Corruption surely, and yet those honorable legislators can go ahead to vet an individual facing corrupt charges. He said with 210 million, he's poor. Think of us who cannot even afford a meal, right? And we have also Kennedy Omogi saying fraud begets fraud. You ride on fraud to form a government, you live by fraud to run the government. Simple. We shouldn't condemn one fraud, celebrate other fraud. I think those are your reactions on Twitter. Let's continue with the conversation right now. And I think we had exhausted the Roraka land scandal that is still ongoing, and we'll see how it really pans out. But you're straining at the least to say something, Aaron Cheruiyot, briefly.
Yes, there are just 2 quick points that I wanted to say, Debarl. One was an issue that was raised by Eseli earlier about how this grand corruption begins at the budgeting phase. And there's one thing that he mentioned, which unfortunately I do not agree with, that the committee of budget should be held, at least the leadership, by the minority party. The design of our constitution, Article 221, reading all the way to 224 on public financing and budget, is such that the cabinet secretary in charge of treasury, when he presents the annual estimates of expenditure to the National Assembly Committee, which is now the Committee on Budget. Previously, there's something that happened in this current parliament that is worth celebrating and therefore important for us to note. That in previous budget cycles that I've seen, and Jakoyo will bear me witness, many of the times that after presentation, it was actually the reverse of what will be happening. National Treasury will present the estimates and shove it down the throats of members of parliament, and because of the political climate that existed at that particular time, members of parliament will be turned into voting blocks, and therefore Treasury will have its way. But in this current budget for 2018-2019, I have never seen as rigorous public participation as was done for this particular budget. I say this because I saw the struggle and the pain with which National Treasury, the number, I think they appeared a record 6 or 7 times, trying to push through some of the projects that they envisioned for the country. But so long as the members of parliament in that committee and in the committee of the whole, which is now the whole of National Assembly, were not convinced that certain projects were important. And of note, for example, is where they slashed almost 10 to 12 billion from the infamous National Youth Service. That is work that parliament should be doing, and it is laudable that at least it happened. I hope that we gain from that trajectory and push it in the years going, because this exercise should be taken, it should be Mwananchi driven, and Mwananchi has no other representative other than members of parliament. Secondly, is a debate that has been begun by my good friend Otiende Amollo, of this debate that we continue to have as Kenyans, whether to institutionalize all this war on graft and have a single agency taking care of, for example, the lifestyle audit that you're talking about, if it is under the presentation of documents under Public Officers Ethics Act, I see a danger in there, my good friend Otiende, because when it was that kind of thinking that led us to form institutions like EACC and National Land Commission, which have gone rogue, and we have not been able to get value for money as Kenyans. The reason why we are struggling,
Thank you.
Just to illustrate something, the reason why we continue to struggle is when we rest so much power in the hands of a single individual. Yet we have proven countless times that as Kenyans, we are not able to rise beyond tribe and beyond the test of desire for greed. Therefore, when we have a multi-agency approach, you have DCI, DPP, and all these institutions that are pulling towards one direction, I think it is safer than resting the war on corruption on a single institution. And therefore, I agree with Jakoyo that we should push this war on a multi-agency approach as opposed to an individual.
Right.
Let me also weigh in on this issue of money, Debarl.
Issue of money?
The
200 million
KRA, the 200 million,
yes,
which I think all has been said.
Yeah.
The guy
from the Swiss.
600 actually.
The 600 million, but the 200 million
yes,
is paltry.
It's paltry.
I don't think we need to belabor that. Whoever is giving us that point, I mean, that information needs to tell us if at least who is the owner of the money and the monies which are outside the country. But I wanted to say something, Debarl, that it only takes one man to fix a country, like George Washington or Winston Churchill. It takes people like that. I want to laud the president because it is his job. That is what he swore to do, and I think he's doing it. We have always had these agencies. They can't do anything. To prove that it only takes one man, Malaysia has just returned a prime minister who is 92 years old to power. The other one, who was there, who took over from him, basically, was just a crook. Imagine, in the day they arrested him, they found $100 million in cash in his house. That is what is happening in Kenya. We cannot afford to have double standards. Let us go after corruption the way the president is talking, and I hope he walks the talk. I want to say here that EACC is not an agency we need. Now that the president changed the DPP, changed the AG, and involved NIS and DCI, you can now see arrests. That is the job of the police. EACC is basically a conduit for corruption, like National Land Commission is a conduit for corruption. We need to rethink this issue of independent commissions. Nothing stops us from having only one person. But lastly, Debarl, the issue of double standards. You cannot say that, like the media says, the DPP goes to church and gives 8 million shillings cash. Central Bank says you cannot transact more than $1 million, Bob. So if the DPP had that money cash, we should have been told by now, because it's irregular. We should have been told by now that this is how we withdrew it, this are the reasons. They should give it to you as the media. They should give it to you.
What if you've stashed the monies in your house?
It is criminal. What then circulates for the Mamamboga?
Why will it be criminal?
The reason why it would be criminal.
I have the discretion to actually, the way I want to.
The reason why it would be criminal, we must know where the money was withdrawn from. We must know how our money works. In fact, let me suggest that if our Uhuru Kenyatta, to win the war on graft, work with central bank to outlaw the 1,000 shillings note, the way Modi did it in India, then you will see.
All the money
just give them 30 days. You will
yes.
see. You will see chaos. Anybody, let me tell you, go to Eseli. The banking structure there is the pillow. Go to industrial area. The banking structure there is the wardrobes and the pillows. outlaw the 1,000 shillings note today and give Kenyans 10 days
Thank you.
to turn it into the bank, and you'll see what will happen.
I think that has been the debate actually on the floor, that maybe the way to actually stem this corruption and the monies we're seeing with in Harambes and elsewhere is to, change that particular legal tender of the 1,000 shillings.
Yes.
So we have a fresh note, right? And then, we are and 500. And then that one is outmoded.
Yeah.
Do you think that will be the prime solution to actually, fight and stanch corruption in this country?
We are helping the president.
It will be a beginning.
Although I'm also aware there's those who keep their money in dollars.
Yes.
So it's also, what what Jakoyo says is
if
a beginning and a very
upon
good
hearing this,
beginning.
they'll actually change,
No, some already changed
dollars.
it. Some already changed it to dollars.
But to use
what
dollars,
Jakoyo is saying,
it will defeat the purpose.
You'll defeat yourself.
I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah.
And actually, I would like to also add my voice in lauding the president on the fight against corruption. And he should not relent. Because if we don't see action and continuous action, then people might blame him later that he didn't go all the way. He should go all the way. And he should also note that we are also watching him, because corruption is not just about outright financial impropriety, but corruption is also paying people salaries that they don't deserve. Like, let me take Raphael Tuju. The constitution is very clear. For you to be a cabinet secretary, you are nominated by the president, vetted by parliament, and appointed by the president. Tuju was never vetted by parliament, so he has not been appointed. He was nominated. Why is he driving a GK car, earning a CS salary? That is impropriety. And the president should walk the talk and either regularize Tuju's appointment or do away with it. Because if we are talking about corruption and the president is on the forefront, he must lead. He has no choice, he must lead. As for EACC, I've always said this and I'll keep on saying it. Wherever bodies dedicated to fighting corruption like EACC have been formed, anywhere in the world, they have ended up being state tools used to fight political wars and victimize some people, threaten some people, bring some people in line when they are behaving politically badly as far as the powers are concerned. So we don't need institutions such as EACC, because wherever they have been, they have never worked. Yet we have structures that can do the work. I want to accept with somebody who had sent a tweet there, and he said, if you ride on corruption to form government, you must ride on corruption to maintain that government, to run that government. And it's true. We can't hide from it. So now that everything is exposed, let's have a frank talk about corruption.
All right.
What about in the
let's hear from Kimani. Let's just give it a chance to Kimani Wamatangi.
I was just trying to apply my mind to that interesting idea introduced by Jakoyo of outlawing the 1,000 note. and probably you'd ask yourself, when did this bug bite us? Was it when we introduced the 1,000 shilling note? And you remember, actually the first people to really ingrain and mess us with corruption started with land. I mean, land has been one of the biggest scandals from the day when we got independence up to today. The first grabbers of land all over the country. And then from there, it moved from land. There is corruption in giving out jobs, and you would also ask ourselves in countries like Uganda, for example, in countries like Zimbabwe, where currency has been devalued to such levels, such that it actually means nothing. Is there corruption? And so. Probably, I would agree that it is it's a start. It's a unique way to try it, but ultimately we must admit that our best way to fight corruption is to identify it, punish it, and punish it firmly. Such that it can be seen to be punished, and the punishment severe enough. Such that it becomes a deterrent. And I believe it's the same Jakoyo here who was an advocate last time of the mass shooting in Uhuru Park. You know, but I believe it's an interesting way to take a look at it.
All right.
You know,
And I think even that debate was actually mooted, so we don't need to belabor that. CBK, I think in 2012, they said that the currency design will change in 3 years.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be happening in 2015.
Right.
And the debate has been so embroiled also in so much murky, I think with the issues of tender, who should actually design the currency. I don't know where it fell through the cracks.
they even
Maybe you can
gave
just
some
give it-
new. They even displayed some new notes, if you remember. I mean, there was new designs for notes.
Right, thanks. Right, let's hear from Otiende.
Let me say something on that. And before I say it, I thought when you took the break, you were coming to Senator Cheruiyot to talk to us about Mao.
Yeah, we are going there, but he's derailing.
Stayed away. I'm reminding you to remind him. So let's go there. But before we go there,
Yeah,
two things
let's finish
on
up with the
this.
currency.
One
Yes.
is on the question of whether we do away with the 1,000 note. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know if it would work. Because I believe that it was in 1993, I think, when Kenya abolished all exchange control laws. And I'm not a financial expert, but as far as I know, there is no direct restriction on how much you can keep in dollars or how much you can keep in euros as we speak. If you are worried about the 1,000 notes, now imagine one person who just has a pile of 100 notes of 100 euros. How much is that? And my understanding, I have seen that a lot of people in Kenya now, those who actually want to hide their money, who are transacting in cash, no longer use Kenya shillings. Even professionals are charging in euros and dollars. So you would then have to revisit that whole edifice. But two, I have said this, and let me repeat it, that strictly going by the Constitution, the notes we have right now are all illegal tender. Whether it's 50 shillings note, whether it's 100 shillings note, and I've dared you before that remove any note that you have, you will see it was printed on 16th July 2010, even though in fact they were printed later. We are all applying illegal tender because there's resistance to follow the Constitution in terms of the note not showing the face of an individual. That's where we need to start. We need to take that opportunity in the Constitution, and as we are now agreeing, and we should have agreed by now on the format we need, then we'll agree on the formatting in terms of the money we need. Do we need coins? Do we need 1,000 note? Do we need 500? What do we need? I think that would be the opportunity. But all this, even the 1,550, it is actually illegal tender as we speak, because it should have been changed within the maximum of 3 years since 2010. We are 5 years out of time.
Yes.
Can I clarify?
So, yes.
Can I clarify? Because I think we are wasting time talking about the issue that I did not raise. In India...
But if you have illegal money now,
no,
don't you think that's a pertinent
no.
issue?
The problem
In your
is
pocket.
unbanked money, which should be in the bank and should be in circulation. People have turned their houses so that they are not discovered. They have turned their closets into banks. And the government assumes that this money is in circulation. So the only way to find out, like Modi did in India, and he's a smart guy, he was a successful governor, and India is one of the fastest growing economies. What he wanted to discover is that everybody with certain currency, take it to the bank, so that we can know that this money is in our country. The problem, remember when I was dealing with the issue of betting,
Thank you.
I raised the issue of our money leaving to foreign countries. It is still leaving. One of my major points with betting, other than the social ills, was export of money. And I've raised the issue even with Safaricom. There is an issue in this country that the government cannot fight corruption and not talk about economic policy, and not talk about the issues, how our money circulates. And I think they need help in that regard.
Thank you.
And I can tell you, all this war against corruption will end up being unsuccessful if we do not know how much money we have in our country. And
All right.
we are exporting too much of our money.
Thank you. All right.